So the subject matter here is going to be biblical. So if you're not interested in that, I understand. I get it. So largely in Christianity, you're taught that you're never going to do it, right? You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be exactly like Christ. You're never going to be perfect at walking the walk. It's just never going to happen. So just, don't bother, right? Like that very much is the attitude in a lot of churches and for a lot of Christians. But here's the deal, right? Jesus said the exact opposite. He said, go and be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. That's not what I was told. And I'm sure a lot of you weren't told that either. And then you look at like where Paul says that we're not under the law, right? We're under grace. But like, read it. So that particular verse is Romans 6. And now the verse that gets used all the time is Romans 6, verse 14. And then they leave it at that, right? Here's verse 14. For sin will have no dominion over you. So it'll have no control over you, since you are not under law, but under grace. And then they leave it there, right? But let's read a little bit before, and let's read a little bit after. So starting in verse 12, let not sin, therefore, reign in your mortal body, to make you obey its passions. Do not present your members to sin as instruments for unrighteousness, but present yourselves to God as those who have been brought from death to life, and your members to God as an instrument for righteousness. Then verse 14, for sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under law, but under grace. Keep going. Paul says, then what? Are we to sin because we're not under law, but we're under the grace? By no means. In my version, my other Bible, it says, God forbid. Do you not know that if you present yourselves to anyone as obedient slaves, you're slaves of the one to whom you obey, either of sin, which leads to death, or of obedience, which leads to righteousness? That sounds a lot different than, don't worry about the law, you're covered in grace. Doesn't it? I'm going to condense everything that Paul just said into something really simple. I don't follow the law to be saved. I follow the law because I'm saved. When you come to God, your life has to change. If it doesn't change, then you're not really walking with him. Jesus said as much. You have to let the dead be with the dead. He said, sell everything and follow me. That's what it means. Leave all that behind. Like Paul says, should we keep sinning so that grace abounds? God forbid. But what's sinning? What's the definition? What's the biblical definition of sin? Now, this is 1 John. So this is the New Testament, guys. This is not OT stuff. This is the New Testament. Everyone who sins breaks the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness. That is the definition of sin. The law, technically, is 613-ish laws in the Old Testament. If you were to go through and count them all, it is somewhere around that number, give or take, depending on who you talk to. Here's the good news. God has condensed those for us. And Jesus even said so, right? Old boy goes to Jesus and he's like, so what should I be doing? What are the two most important commands? And Jesus said the first two. Love God and love your neighbor. Well, what does that look like? That's where the other 8 come in. You've got the 10 commandments. You've got the first 2 laws. Love God, love your neighbor. Those are the most important 2. All the law and the prophets hang on those 2 commandments. Which means those 613 laws-ish are all condensed into these 10. That's the law. Should we do away with that? It's like looking at an outline as the 10 commandments. And then if you want to look deeper into that outline, what do each of those particular commandments mean? Then you can go back into the Old Testament and see the subcategories. What does this look like? That's what the laws are. It's just telling you how not to be a garbage human. What God expects, not what other people expect. Sometimes those are different. So what does God expect? What does Yahweh expect? People get really, really ouchy when you tell them that maybe You should look into that. They get a little ouchy, and they don't want to, because they think that following God's laws means they have to stop doing things that they really enjoy doing. But are those things that you're really enjoying doing, are they doing you any good? Because when it all comes down to it, that's what God's laws are doing. They're protecting you. They keep you protected. They keep you under this umbrella. And the minute we step outside, I mean, it's pouring outside, guys. Look out there. It is pouring. The minute you step outside of that umbrella, you're going to get soaked.